Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity to practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day.
Okay, welcome back to the Frame Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode, I guess, will be the first episode also after November, end of November, start of December update. Yeah, we are officially 27, bro. Officially 27. Yeah, and what happened was that for this episode, I talk about it want to make sense. I go back to the roots where I'm from, the church. And what happened was that, so if you remember, well, I did not know if I mentioned it before, but it naturally went back to my old church, my first church. And, due to the fact that one of the church that I went to, so, so what happened is that there's two churches that I went to. So you have my first church where I basically going into barn and all those stuff, christened and all those stuff into. And if you listen to OG episode, you realize that's the church where I would basically mention a lot. And then now you have this new church now that I actually went that is more. So what happened is that my old church was really unofficial. I mean, so unofficial where, when I actually went to school and say the name of my church, people actually asked if my church was a real denomination. Is that they said, oh, they know of another denomination, but not this denomination. There's that it's just one of those things that was so shocking. Shocking where like, yeah, my life, that's the thing where my life is has been years of trying to legitimize myself. That's something that I realized that my years here is it does a lot of years of legitimizing yourself, because what happens is that you will be placed in some situation and you wonder what, this is not the norm. This is not the norm. So it's like a lot of those stuff. So what happened was that the new church now was more established. So if I was say, oh, this type of church, yeah, they would actually know it. But the thing about it is that I was not a person that is, oh, say this denomination and stuff like that. I was not even a person that really into the church like that, because it was seemed like everything else to deal with people, and I was young and you usually have bullies and all those stuff. Alright, not bullies also, but you have the popular people in my, so you have the young people section and you have the popular young people section. So I would go there actually wanting to learn about the church and stuff like that. But there are some people that didn't go there and they just go there because their family go to the church. And it's a way to congregate, and what happens is that boom, some people are more social than others, and to the fact that they usually maybe known each other. So the young people have known each other outside of the church because I barely left the house in those times. Barely left the house. And it's like what happened is that you just so I was basically the outsider in the young people group. The outsider. So I was there wanting to, well, basically go there to learn the Bible or do the Sunday school stuff, because if I'm basically at the church, might as well learn the Sunday school stuff. But the others will be there socializing and stuff like that. So there was always a disconnect, and then me not having much of the street life experience or the real life experience, or my experience come from in the house. It's hard to relate to the people in the church group. So it's like that's the thing where my life was, I'm very grateful for my upbringing. But one of the things that I realized is that this is the duality of things. And you with the podcast is that the podcast is really out of the norm of where I'm from. So like one of those things where you're like, you know, people will say something like, "Oh, I want to be rich and rich and all those stuff," and then you will tell them all the things that you do to be rich, and they won't do it because it's basically the opposite of their lifestyle. Like if you look at a certain lifestyle, if you see everybody doing a certain lifestyle, and everybody in that certain lifestyle is saying, "Oh, I want to get money and be rich," you would realize that yo, something is wrong if everybody is living that same lifestyle and everybody is not rich. Everybody is not rich. Everybody is out here just saying. Everybody's still out here hustling for the money and all those stuff. I would say money is the root of all evil. A lot of evil things still going on in the world and stuff like that. But everybody out here is still getting rich for some reason. And but everybody is living the same lifestyle, want to be the popular, all those stuff, want to be a gangster, all those stuff. I realized that if you know, someone would actually come and show you a rich lifestyle and look at that lifestyle and be like, oh, it's boring or not. So so it's like if you live the religious way, like my family did, what going through life, I realized that though I had a great start just due to the fact that my family gave some their life to God. Just by doing that, I had a way better start than majority of the people in my generation. That's something that I realized now. But the thing is that if you basically, I'm not in a position now to actually tell you why that was, because I'm still learning. Like something that I realized now. 90 years. My grandmother was 90 years. And it's something else I realized that our family have a lot of years. Those are stuff that I'm learning now. It's like one of those things where, I'm grateful for the start. And if you basically would tell people that, if you basically do this, you will basically live a much richer lifestyle. It's a lot more maybe boring in the short term, but it will be better in the long term. Nobody would do it. Really, anybody would do it. And then what happens is that you go around them and live in a way better lifestyle, and you'll be basically persecuted, not just like oh Jesus and all those stuff. If you really, it's like you're understanding all these stuff now. When you reach this, with persecution and stuff like that because well, you're basically not conforming to the fact. So it's like what happens is that society is like everybody wants to be rich, but nobody wants to do the work to be rich. Everybody wants to be just you want to just congregate together to be like, oh my God, we're we're poor, but we want to be rich. But nobody wants. If I tell if you actually say, oh, do this work and get rich, you don't want to do it because if you do it, you might get rich, and then you can't say, oh, I'm rich and all those stuff. That's legit the lifestyle of society, and it's like that's so being 27 now, my grandmother going away and realizing that 90 years is a lot of years, and I'm actually have to go and actually establish myself and my morals and stuff like that. That's one of the things that I realized that still to this day, 2023, I'm going to work, and I still have seen people living a very non a very poor lifestyle and still bashing me, which is somewhat doing in a better lifestyle, doing reaching a better position, and they will not heed to my they will not take my opinions into consideration because of what their group think into believing that, oh, we are all poor, but they don't want to get rich to be rich. They want to stay poor so they could say, "Oh, I'm here for the money and all those stuff." That when you actually see that, you'll be like, "Oh my God, that's sad. That's sad. That's sad." So groupthink and carbon and barrel and crowd mentality, all those stuff is real enough. So, so back to this story is basically what happened is that so what happened is that so I'm back around this area now where my old church is. And what happened is no like I went to the church due to the fact that the new church that I actually went to, so I actually usually go to that church now recently when I'm back settled in this new home and stuff. And what happened is that one of the Sundays the church was not open due to the fact that the church people went to that trip. So I decided to just go back to my old church, and it was really nice. And going back to my old church after my grandmother passed away, is something different to the fact that in the sense that what happens, you be under the guise of your family. Where you would associate to be like, oh my God, is this son or that grandson, all those stuff. But no, what you realize is you're getting older, you're being established as yourself. You're being, when I go to work, I'm more like, yo, Mr. Brooks and all those stuff. And it's legitimized and all those. And it's like one of those stuff where be like, oh, this is the phase that I am going into now where I am now legitimized. I'm not, I'm basically moving away. And speaking about church, in the Bible, there is Psalms 27, where it speaks about this as well. I know one of my other verses that my grandmother usually love to the fact that she actually get an artist to paint it and she places it in her house. Psalms 27. What happens is that one part of it says that when your mother and your father forsake you, the Lord will take you up. And there's a lot of ways to interpret that. And one of the ways that I can see is that what I realize is if I get old and so my mother and father will not be here forever. So it's just one of those things where they teach me a lot of these stuff, and it's important for me to learn. And a good thing I learned a lot of stuff from my grandmother as well. But the thing about it is that when what I realized is that my grandma passed away, life goes on. She did her part, and then we, you know, have to actually move forward and play our part as well. But if we continue to do that as well, the mother and father as well may go as their part is over as well. And then when their part is over, well, life would have go on as well, goes on. And then so what will happen is that you will be the person that is guided. And I see that already where people are looking to me, and it's always been a long time part of my life, but it's more apparent where I am not in my best position in life, but people look at me and be like, yo, looking for guidance and stuff like that. And when I'm not in my any position and stuff, and it's like one of those things where like it's weird. It's weird when you're not in your best position and you're people are still looking to you to advice and you have older people and all those people be like, yo, you know, but what the next thing is, and back to where I come back to the early part of the episode is that you learn you I can give you my perspective and advice, and people will not take it, will not take it and be like, yo, and then they complain and all those stuff and be like, but it but the thing is I'm not the person that likes to complain. I want to live a very calm, peaceful life and stuff. So it's like this duality of life where you be like, yo, this is a weird phase that I've always been in. So, you know, So I kind of like this episode. I know why, because it's a simple topic that I actually wanted to bring up. But this phase of my life is really interesting because what means that I can't, in this part where I'm basically having a normal human health issue. Health issues because the work I'm doing, I'm lifting a lot of bugs and stuff. So it's like, I'm basically, having back issues and stuff. So it's like, I'm basically out of the pandemic life and into the normal life. And I can't, going back to the normal life and seeing that there's still the normal stuff, killing, robbing, and all those stuff, no matter where you go. Negativity and all those stuff, no matter how something as dangerous as a pandemic comes, whenever we're back to your old ways, you realize that, bro, like a song tell this monster always prosper. So it's like one of those stuff where be like, yeah, back to the normal days where I'll be like, I don't know how long I'll be here and how long I will survive. I'll just take each day as a blessing and just do what I can again, because we're back to this society, normal societal thing. But it's nice to why I like this episode, even though I didn't start the topic as yet, is because the religious side, the religious side of me is really getting more excited in this way. The religious side of me, I'm not that excited where I'll be like, oh God, I want to go to church or stuff like that. I'm in this phase where I'm actually learn so much more about the Bible, understand the exciting thing about it, where I would take the time, just like oh my grandma used to sit down and study. I would actually sit down and study and so just to relearn all the stories in my home. There's actually stuff that is basically help me that is in here that is help me getting more in touch with the religious. Make me learn more about the religious side of it as well. Because the thing about it is that is you each year God become more different. Like you need you so it's like when you're a kid or when you're a child, the God is idealistic and stuff where basically you just like Santa Claus and all those Santa Claus and those stuff that not people will say are myths or stuff is something where you learn about it when you're a kid and you say, "Oh my God, I would love to go to heaven. I love because heaven sounds really nice and hell sounds really bad, so you don't want to go there." But what happens is that as you grow old and you become more of an adult, um, real life me actually try to dissuade them, be like, oh my God, it's God real because well, you meet people coming out with facts and all those stuff, facts and statistics, and they will be like, oh my God, God doesn't exist and all those stuff. And the thing about it is that at the point you can't disprove it because what happens that when the thing about stats and all those stuff is that you can pick and choose stats to prove your point. So it's like you can pick up a certain stat and say, oh, God doesn't exist. And the thing about it, if you do not come prepared, then you look like a fool trying to explain. But the thing about religion and all those stuff, it has to be personal to you. It has to be personal to you. And it's way more than facts. But the thing about it is that you're gonna go through that phase where basically your faith will not make any sense because every time, especially when during this phase you're going to school, which is more fact based and all those stuff. So it's like when people come with the facts and you just out here coming with faith, like it's hard to actually make sense of it. But the thing about it is that you have to go through that phase and you have to be rigorous. And the thing about it is that you might just basically forget about God in that phase. Because but God wouldn't forget about you in that phase, you know. But it's that's an important phase because If it's one thing to say, okay, you believe in the fairy tale of God, but not being tested, it's like you're getting free lunch. Free lunch. If you never work for the lunch, eventually you would not know how to get the lunch when the lunch stop um, being free. So that thing, you can believe in a fantasy of God, but if it's not tested, when you actually come in and decide, oh, you want to believe in God, you don't know, you can't, you can't really testify about it. And as I said, in the church, you have things like testimony and all stuff. I know, I understand the relevance. The thing about it that I don't, I know I understand the relevance of each part of the ceremony of the church in the sense that I don't understand that, like I know what it's for. But what I can say is that as I go more, I would understand the importance of all those stuff for the importance of a healthy church, like giving testimonies, praise and worship and all those stuff. I know that I'm reaching this video where I know that it's important. I just haven't put in the research to understand like why is that specific thing very important to the religious life and stuff. But the thing about it is that so you have the phase now where I think about it, the churches is pure faith based, and then you're going to go through the school and university where it's pure fact based. So it's like it's hard for your arguments to make sense. So you just basically be like, okay, you put it aside, and then you live a somewhat secular life. So what happens in your adult life? Things are going to get serious. Things like real life things are going to get serious. Gotta get a work, gotta get a house, gotta get a car, and all those stuff. Gotta get all these stuff just to not keep up with the Joneses. Another saying and all those things. And what will happen is that through all these things, that when you realize that you're not getting them, you basically get it. You're not getting them when you see your friends getting them and all stuff. You will get depressed. You get depressed and be like, oh my god, it's not working. It's not working. And then you're trying to find fact-based answers to solve your issue. Fact-based answers, because what happens is that you go through the secular world, the fact-based world, and what happens is that the fact-based world make you rely on the fact-based world. So you're looking for facts and stuff to actually try to rationalize your thing. And the facts may be right, but the thing about it that I can give you facts. That's the level of maturity that I am now. I can give you facts, but if I can't actually put that facts into action, it's just basically information. Information. Like I can tell you all these stuff. You can listen to me talk about all these stuff on the podcast. But if you not take anything away from it and then apply it in your life, it's just basically like you watching a movie or listening to a movie, you're just basically just getting entertainment from it. So so it's like one of those stuff where you the facts will carry you so far. You need something else. You need faith. Why you need faith? Because if you basically have been poor your whole life, there's no real, like now they can give you some facts, but like, oh, if you do this and do that, you'll be a millionaire and all those stuff in X years. But the thing about it is that if you're basically been poor your whole life, and you say, you know what, I want to be a billionaire or a trillionaire, you no facts will make sense to support any of your claim of you becoming a trillionaire. But in the Bible, there are things that said that Solomon being one of the richest person in the world, actually, you know, have a lot of wealth. So you have evidence in the Bible. So it's like where can facts can make sense to be like, oh my God, you can't be the poorest person, then all of a sudden you're becoming a trillionaire. So what will happen is that you need faith. That's where the faith come in. So this is where, so this is the second test. So what happens that in the secular world come by with facts, but here they have the fantasy of God, fantasy of oh, heaven is so good, hell is so bad, fantasy that you were told as a child, and that is real. Just like in science, you learn about the atoms, they teach you about the atoms in one way. Then when you're old enough, or you reach a certain grade, you'll be like, okay, this is nothing. Throw away all of that information about atom. That's just the introduction. This is what atom really looks like now. You know, and be like, the reason why they tell you that is because if you teach that the wrong, the real way, then you basically will not you may they turn a lot away people from the thing that's for one, and the thing about it is that you may not get the foundation so that when you understand the real thing, then when the real thing come, you will not get it because the foundation. There have to be an easier way to teach you so that you grasp the foundation so that you can build on it. So that's the thing where you have basically Sunday school, where it's basically introducing the children to the church to be like, okay, this is basically some stuff, and you just basically need to memorize it, and all the fun stuff and all the possibilities that the Bible has to offer. That's all the possibilities that what heaven has to offer and what hell is and all those stuff. Then you have the secular world now where basically you're going through school and stuff and you're meeting all these people now that come in with all these facts. Atheists and all, agnostic. They're about atheists, agnostic. They're about different religion, Muslim, Hinduism and all those stuff. And you're like, oh my God. You know, and then you know with your basic knowledge, because you're basically giving the fantasy of your Christianity and all those stuff. Go in and you have all these people now that has way more facts. Be like, oh my God, and be like, oh, I can't really compete. Because I really barely know anything about my religion. I just know that heaven is good and hell is bad. But all these people know all these stuff coming, all these facts, and be like, oh my God, bro. It's like, but one of those things is like, yeah, just take the L there. But now you have this next phase now where basically you have to come back to faith because you're trying to do something impossible. You're trying to break generational cycles and all those stuff. And there's no logical thing that would basically be like, yo, there's no logical thing that would make you break that cycle. And only God and faith. And your faith, that's where now where you become yourself. You become no, you become the first version of yourself because look at it, I'm 27 now. My grandmother was 90. So there's a lot of years of changing and believing in God that you have to go through where lots of testing all those stuff. And where I think about it is that I'm reaching this point and be like, yeah, and I think there's still battles that my grandmother is battling right now. Just like what happened that she passed and she left her family and stuff. So so there's still battles and all those stuff that's going on that has to be done. And I understand that now where life is ever continuing. But the thing about it is that this phase, you have 90 years, so what happens that so this adulthood years is where you're becoming more self-centered. You say, okay, boom, I am a Christian, I'm a believer in God. But this is how I put it. No, I do know. I'm not going to out here force you to believe in God where I'm trying to out here change you to be a Christian. I understand the value of the words in the Bible. But the thing about it that I'm smart enough to realize that I don't understand the full power of the Bible yet. I'm still a novice. Still a novice. So not all they're going to try to convince you to do it, but no, with a person smart enough to know that if you do not believe in it, it's like, bro, it's like like half of your life is gone. Like half of your riches is gone. That's basically it. Half of your riches is gone just by you not believing that. But understand that each year the God once you reach in this phase where you're becoming your own self, the God will get more and more personal to you. And then that's where when you go to church and you see people crying and testifying and be like, oh my God, and see people shaking and all those stuff. That's where that comes in because each year you're looking at older people now. So when you're young and see the older people shake it. Because what happened that each year the God is getting more personal because some things that you make it out of, you'll be like, oh my God, it's nothing but God. So you'll be like, oh my God, yes. And that's where it gets more personal. So that's the significance of all those celebrations in those church in the that you see, because what happens is that each level God is getting more personal to you, and some things that you survive each year, it becomes a real testimony. Because like, oh my God, I did not know I'm going to make it out of that. So that's so. And this is 29 minutes. I'm just gonna stop now and then and come back. Yeah, yeah. So like each year, it gets way more personal. So that's why I see all those testimony, all those cheering, all those things. The thing about it is that you have the fact base for it as well. So it's like, there's levels. So yeah, I'm not in the phase now where I can actually come out and say, oh, convert or introduce to the Bible. And be like, oh my God, I could introduce to the Bible. And be like, oh, this is like a pastor would come out and preach and all that stuff. Yeah, I know enough now about the Bible where be like, I I could quote some verse and understand the relevance of the verses and the surface level. But what you realize is that those people wrote those verses for a specific reason. The Psalms were written for various reasons, because what happened is that the Psalms of David was going through a lot of stuff in those times, and what happened that those Psalms are what brought him through. So when he got through those situations, be like, oh my God, I'm writing this stuff, writing these stuff to say, oh, damn, I made it out. I made it out. And thank you, God. Thank you, God, for bringing me through this. That's what his Psalms was, because he gone through wars, famine, and all those stuff. So each one of those Psalms is one of those things. So it's like I understand the relevance of that. I understand the relevance of that. But the thing about it is that I can't teach you it. I can't teach you it. I can't tell you the relevance of them. The relevance of it. But the thing about it is that you have to be open minded enough to want to learn. Just like science. You have to be, I can, it's, the thing was that I'm more able to actually teach you science than the religion stuff. But I actually know the religion stuff. I know how it can apply to my life. And but the thing about it, that the difference between the level between me and my grandmother was that my grandmother could introduce it to the Bible. Now she introduced me to the Bible and all those powers and stuff that I actually applied to reach this far. And so I'm not at that level as yet. But the thing about it is that it takes levels to reach that level, because she actually was a pastor and all those stuff in churches, in her church and all those stuff. So there's levels. There's levels to all these stuff. Just like level to science, there's levels to the church life and stuff. So it's like the thing about breath experience is really something. Experience is really something. So like there's levels. There's levels. So even if you see a very young pastor or stuff like that, he's relevant and stuff like that. But more experienced pastor, they can do way more. I say I'm coming from days where yo pastor see me and prophesying that I'm gonna do well on my grade 4 exam. And it's like, oh, I actually did it. And it's like one of those things where what makes it was so weird was because he actually know my name and stuff the first time he came in. And it's like, it could be the fact that my family told my name and stuff like that. Or the fact that, this man had a new level ability of the region where he could actually see me and a prophecy came to him and be like, oh, so that's the thing, there are levels to religion. There are levels to science, there's levels to, so it's like, yeah, so, I'm not out here, I'm not at the level yet. You can listen to the podcast and get some basic understanding of how it relevant to me, how I apply it to my life. But as I said, there are levels of it, and each year it gets more and more personal. It gets more and more personal. I think about it is that we live in a world that is so hard and so against emotion and stuff like that. You don't want to be tough and all those stuff. You don't want to get to experience religion. We're basically be like, oh my God, this verse was so really helped me through this situation. I was so very happy. And but I mean, we live in a very tough world. Tough world. People like, toughen up, don't cry, all those stuff. We're like, but like, it's really important. Really important. And the thing about it is that you can tell people about all these stuff and they see your life and they will say something like, oh, you're so rich and all those stuff. And then you will tell them that, this is a part of the reason, me believing in God and applying and all those stuff. And they still wouldn't do. They would not do it. They'll go down and listen to the opposite music, secular music and all those stuff, do all those secular activities. Live a very, very bad lifestyle and then wonder why our lives are so different. Wonder why our lives are so different. I tell you why. But thing is, you will not try to apply it. But thing about it is that we're in this phase now. This phase of my life is that I can tell you, I could tell you that, um, I could tell you that before when my grandmother was alive. Because what happened was that I'm living through my grandmother's faith, but now that she's gone, and I'm living through my faith now. So this is the part where we're like, oh, my faith now has come into action where you have to see me live my life, see my success, and be like, okay, that's and then when I get the success, I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can see for myself that without God, this success will not be possible. And then I can give you real life examples. Because what I could give you fact based things about stuff, but without God, this will not be possible. And I could, through my own experiences. But I still have other family as well, where their faith is actually, carrying me through. That's the thing we realize that there's levels. There's levels. So 90 years, and that's the thing we realize that there's a lot of years to experience the different levels of the faith. And one of the things that I realized is that you have a lot of years actually learn about the different faiths as well, where I think there are many faiths where you can go to and be like, oh my God, boom, Christianity is not this, religion is this stuff, Hinduism is this thing, because this and that, or Muslim is the thing. But now I'm meeting people from different religion type and stuff. I think about is that and what I see is that in with a different religion. And the thing about it as well, which when you meet different races as well, it will seem like the other races or the other religion know more about their religion than you, where they're more passionate about their religion, they're more Muslim or let's be like, oh my God, I'm Muslim and stuff like that, and all those stuff. And a Christian be like more passive, be like, I'm not, we're out here spreading the words and hoping that you take it, but not out there forcing on you and those stuff, but more, almost even be more radical, be like, oh my God, I'm so passionate about this. If we do not do this way, this will be the thing like that. It's like one of those dichotomy where, there's lots of phases, there are more phases of life where you go through those stuff and then you meet this situation and then your faith will be tested again, where you have to prove where you're at this point, you'll be like, oh my God. And I can be the person that says, just like if I decide, okay, I'm going to do my PhD, I'm a person that likes science just for my passion and all those stuff. But when I'm doing my PhD, the passion will be out of the window. I'd have to convince people to actually take my thesis and prove my point and all those stuff. It's valid. There
I can't go in and do my PhD and be like, oh my God, I'm so passionate about science and all those. I have to come in with hard facts, hard data when they come in the question and be able to answer it. And be like, oh, this is why, and all those stuff. And be like, yo, so it's like, just like, so there's phases of the religion as well where I could basically, I know I believe in God for myself. I know I believe in God myself and all those. I know it belongs to me. But there are points where you be like, oh my God, you have to prove and be like, oh my. Just like in the Bible where Moses had to drop the staff, turn it into a snake and beat all those other snakes just to prove that, my God is real. My God is real. There's a situation where you'll be like, yo, you have to actually go in and prove and be like, yo, my God is real as well. So that's the thing where like that, yo, there's a lot of phases in life. But the thing about it is that post pandemic world now, back to the normal life, I'm back in the aspect where you have, you know, back to the normal factions where you basically have people with evil intentions and stuff, and people with people who don't have the ability to actually want to hear your side. They don't really care about your side. They just want to bash you and all those stuff. Go back to this normal stuff. Do this normal stuff where you have your feet and you have your thing that you want to do and believe in. But you have all these other negative people that were not interested to hear your side, just like, oh, I'd be interested in science. And be like, oh, science, you're a nerd and all those things. You're a nerd and stuff. They don't care about the fact that, oh, you survive a pandemic, you the scientists are taking the vaccine. No, they just go back to be like, oh my God, you're a nerd and all those stuff. And having cars and houses and all those stuff is a thing which is important. It's important when I realize that they're engineers and all those stuff that build those cars and all those things. So it's like, yeah, so it's like, you, it's back to the real world now, back to the real world. And it's really interesting to see that you can go through, certain something that's very life threatening, and be like, oh my God, I will not survive it. And then boom, you survive it, and then boom, made it out. And there's a new generation of people, and they realize that, oh my God, there's a new generation of people that basically thinks the same way, just like my generation of people when I was growing up. And it's like something I'm like, oh my God, you can go through all of that, see all this evidence and all those stuff, and be like, boom, see your life. And that life and be like, oh my God, and you still chose to be this way. And the thing about it is that I am saying that, but the thing about a person, what happens is that a person will live a negative life, and when you look at it on the physical state, or we look at it on like my wealth and all those stuff compared to a Christian person, they are a lot more richer, they are a lot more successful and all those stuff. You see all of that. You see all of those stuff. And what happens that due to the fact that you see all these success, like, oh my God, he's winning. So there's not much you can see as a Christian life. So every time you come in with your logic and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense because in the real world, they look around, they don't see the secular person and the person that in the religion winning, but not realize that okay, one of the things that makes Christianity and all those are really just first self-centered person winning is because we don't have to prove that wealth and all those stuff. We don't have to come in and prove that. You just come in and be like, yo, dog, chill, I'm living, you have this new peace that Jesus has given you. Be like, oh my God, I'm so happy living my life. And you being so happy living your life, bro. Just piss off them. Just piss them off because oh yes, they're so rich and all those stuff and I have all these rich and so successful. And you just big chilling, bro. and you just go to a big chilling. That's I said that's the funny thing about life. Life is so different. And a lot of phases after life. And the fact that I'm still going through it means that there's a lot of stuff to learn. Yeah, so as it, the religion as it. Just like science, there is religion can be very fun, especially when you understand more why these different parts are important. But there's a lot of boring side as well. There's a boring side as well. So now back to this story now. So what happened is that the church went to the church, established myself, the pastor be like, okay, yo, glad to see you here and all those stuff. And then the church people like, yo, yeah, it's X and Y's son, he used to come to this church. I'd be like, oh my god, good to see you again, hope to see you again. And be like, yeah, I would actually come back again since I'm on this new phase in life. So what happened was there was this thing where an also be like, yo, pastor, pastor, appreciation day. And actually I went to a pastor appreciation day to the new church that actually I went to. And so I said, what? And it was an all white affair. So, you know, during this phase, we actually start wearing the white shirts to my work, and actually I washed the white shirts and it was washed. And be like, oh my god, I would actually go there this time because I'm at this new phase now where I actually start wearing white shirts and be like, I could actually go there now, actually go to an all white event because I know to wash white shirt and I would actually take the time to go to and wash the white shirt and stuff. But when the day came, I was at work and I was working. I think it was a Sunday. Yeah, it was a Sunday, and I was working on a Sunday. And by the time I came home, I actually saw the celebration ongoing. But I had work the next day and be like, I have to miss it. I have to miss it. So it was one of those unfortunate things. Unfortunate things. And it was before my 27th birthday. It was one of those things that would be like, the point of it would be like, the point of the story was the fact that, I'm in this new phase now where, I'm taking the effort now to actually do things like washing white clothes and stuff like that. So there's a new level of opportunities or places that I have access to now that I can go like all white affairs where I wouldn't actually go there because I'm like wearing white stuff, but I can actually go there now. And that was one of those things where it'd be like new access, new access of opportunities that I can basically go to now. Just the fact that I can put in effort to say, oh, I'm going to learn a new skill, like how to wash white clothes. So yeah, that's basically it for the story. So yeah, so the other part of this, the episode was really, I'm really happy for it because they actually really get to explore this side of myself again, bro. And this nice side of myself again. But basically, what happened was that was the story that I wanted to actually share. The fact that I could actually go to all white events now because actually more likely to wash my white clothes now. So that was basically the point. So yeah, that's basically for this episode, bro. I said, ah, it's a very weird phase, bro. It's a very weird phase. So I said, it's a very weird phase. And then, but I really make sure really that I don't want to be this tough person, but I have to keep on being this tough person. And I was like, I want to be this tough person, but I have to keep on being this tough person. And I was like, but after just go on, push forward. And yeah, so that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.